There he is.
Yo.
He's got to be mine. This will go automatically live on Facebook at 8:30. It's all scheduled, so it will go automatically live.
Perfect.
So we just have to be aware of that. I'm just
That's good.
I'll just see my
Got a minute.
it says public, it says stream set. You can go to pages and stuff like that, but the problem with the pages is that
All right. They're not they're only seen by the people that press the like button. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm utilizing my let me just get rid of my dog, sorry. Yeah, I'm just utilizing my profile because I've got 3,000 people on there, so
yeah,
I have to get working. Right, it's going live now. So morning, Johnny. How you doing?
Morning, Mr. Ribbons. Yeah, very good. Yeah, busy weekend. Back in the fold of it. Yeah.
This is the Accountability Mondays, Entrepreneurs Accountability Mondays, and we're going to be talking about making yourself accountable. So, been in for any more runs, John?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't been any for more runs, so I'm gonna commit to 2 runs this week.
2 runs.
There you go. That's 2 runs. I'll probably pick up a few other action points as we go along as well, but that's pretty good.
Can I ask a question? I'm going to call you out now, but why didn't you go for a run? Was there any particular reason, or is it, if you're honest with yourself, it's just it wasn't a priority?
I think it's what everyone. I think it's the what everyone gets you suffer with. It was. We can all make the excuses, can't we? And that's what it is ultimately. Because at the end of the day, if it was important, I'd have found time. But it was a really, really busy week. I've got my daughter going back abroad on this week, so we've just I was going 1 minute in Surrey, Bristol. Yeah, it's just crazy times. Even when I was when you stay away, the good thing about running is you can put a pair of shorts and a pair of trainers in and stuff like that, can't you? So no, I'll So. But no, I will. It's habit, isn't it? It's habit getting back in that notch where you're doing it on a regular basis. So I'm going to get 2 runs in this week.
Yeah, I've struggled with myself with exercise. Say again.
I think you were cycling, didn't I see on your Facebook?
Yeah, no, I did
10K,
2 bike rides, two bike rides over the weekend. One just a little I think it's about 12-13 miles, and then 30 miles on Sunday. And I will say it's funny because I subscribe to an app called Strava. I know you do, and people put their stuff on Strava, and then they'll put in, it was really cold. Well, yeah, I know it was really cold. It was it's a bit of a shock to the system, but that was the thing I overcame because it was nice and warm inside. And I went both times. I went on my own. I was going to meet a few lads on the Sunday, and I didn't quite get there in time, so I did the ride anyway. But it's hard to motivate yourself when you're doing it on your own sometimes. Really hard. And I thought, no, I've got to do it. I've got to do it in my head. Also, I wanted me points for me vitality, which I think we spoke about before. So I just pushed myself out there. As cold as it was, I wrapped up nice and warm. And I'm so pleased I did both rides. So pleased. And I got some more goals this week for different rides. I want to do 100K over the next 7 days out on the road, and that's going to take me 4 hours. 3.5 to 4.5 hours, depending on weather conditions and stuff like that. And it's getting cold, and 3.5 to 4.5 hours on a bike can be hard when it's freezing cold. So I look at it as I have to work harder to keep myself warm. It's the only way I can do it.
That sounds good.
So anyway, I was thinking this week about what we can talk about, because I think we have sort of different themes each week, and one thing I'm aware of is what we're talking about this morning is losing focus on what your objectives are, and I think it's important to understand that life does knock you off balance sometimes, or things get in the way. But I think you have to make what you're telling yourself you want to be accountable for, and we do know these fall into the quadrant 2 activities. So if anyone's aware of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is the important and urgent stuff that comes in, you have to deal with. Quadrant 2 is the important but non-urgent stuff, the stuff that's going to make a difference to your life, would make a huge difference, but they're not urgent. And then you've got urgent and unimportant. And then the last one you've got is unimportant and not urgent. And we spend a lot of our time in that probably quadrant 4, which is the stuff that's not urgent and not important. Are usually, scrolling through reels on Instagram, or watching crappy television, or having conversations with someone that's irrelevant. They're not getting you anywhere. That great, but and they serve a purpose for your own amusement, but they're not really giving you what you want, which is the important stuff that you're not doing. So making sure the objective has got a big enough emotion attached to it. And what do I mean by that? I think if it's important to you and you know why you're doing it, then you make it more of a priority, if that makes sense. I don't know how you see that, John.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely. I think, like you say, it's. Well, I suppose it's like smoking, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure there's certain things people can do, isn't there? And it's like you don't drink, I don't drink, but at the end of the day, I didn't join any class to stop drinking. It was just like I wanted. It was the want, or the want to stop drinking was so important that I basically just like light switch turned it off. And I think it's like I suppose it's like people that have tried to give up smoking, haven't they? So suddenly they might get a house scare or go to hospital, something like that. But they've tried various things, but the desire has never been that strong, and then suddenly they go to the hospital, get something nasty, which doesn't turn out to be nasty, but it's just that scare moment. Suddenly they flick the switch and literally they stop smoking overnight. So it's like that, isn't it? Really, it's got to be important for you.
Yeah, I think I use two things there. I think it's harder when you've got people who have got just goals for a bigger picture, or I think that's you have to look at, because I think I don't know what you found with drinking. My drinking came down to the identity I attached to myself. Is I want to be teetotal. I don't want to be a drinker. So I saw myself as a non-drinker, teetotal. And the same with the smoker. You get a kick and you want to give up. You have an identity shift, and that's important, because I think your identity can drive you to do things. And I remember, I don't know if I told the story about when I picked up a new car back in 2016, and for some reason I attached to the car this different persona about exercise, and my exercise has ramped up from that date in 2016. And I saw myself as someone who exercises on a regular basis, not someone who wants to exercise, who thinks they should be fitter. And I'm not an athlete by any stretch of the imagination, but I saw myself in that vein. But having that deeper, they call it your why. And if you're trying to achieve something, or you're trying to remain accountable for something, ask yourself, what's the reason you're doing it in the first place? And that's important. And it's funny, because I was doing some preparing for today, and I was looking back at my videos that I was posting I started doing podcasts and putting them on YouTube, and there was no plan. It was just, okay, we're going to do some podcasts. We're going to throw them up there, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew why I was doing it, because when Zoe left last year, then she passed last year, I wanted to make that experience something I can help other people with. So there was a big enough why, because it meant that Zoe lived on, so to speak, in and her death wasn't in vain. And it's important to me to do it. And on the 14th of February, I posted, actually the 12th of February, I posted the first video, and then the 14th was the first video in the collection of Paul Ribbon podcasts. And looking back at that, thinking, okay, it was that important to me. This came out of it as well, effectively. I mean, we've been speaking about this for years, about doing the Entrepreneurs Accountability Network. But I felt that if I did something regularly every single week, I made it that important. I'm going to turn up every Monday morning at 8:30, and you do the same, because I can then hold myself accountable. Because what I wanted to do with Zoe's legacy was really important to me. There was something in me that said, I've got to do this. So the why was big enough, and hence that has a knock-on effect on all the things that are attached to that bigger objective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was listening to an audio book because I was in the car a hell of a lot last week. And there was a guy he took 2 years to write his book because he just wanted it to be out there. He just said he wants that to be out there in 10 years' time and still, inspire and motivate people. But he said, obviously went through times when he just was going to abandon it. But his editor said, just picture that person that's like sleeping under a tent that's, in Africa or some, place where you're trying to pull that person out of poverty or giving him some motivation, so he's got your book under his pillow in a tent or in the middle of nowhere, and picture that person that you're writing the book for, and you could make his life completely different. And and he was just the editor saying that sort of thing just got him back straight into the habit of picking up a pen again and starting to write again. So yeah, I think it is. It's just visualizing that.
And also, I think doing something. I mean, I'll give an example. I was watching a video the other day, and it was talking about Limitless. That film Limitless with Bradley Cooper in it. I think it's a fantastic film. And if you could take a little tablet and you access your brain, and he was talking about, look, you can become limitless anyway. And I get this. I've probably been very similar to this myself. And he suggested doing something for 30 days. But he said there was a 3-step process to it. And while I was listening to him, I thought, yeah, he's right. He's got a very valid point. He's got, you've got to know what your big goal is or objective, and find out why you're really doing it. So if you want to thrive in business, or you've got an idea of what that looks like, what ask yourself that question. Why is it important? Why is it that important? And then when you've got that big picture, he was talking about focus. And I think this is where I was coming from today is I think Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows. We focus on things, and sometimes we focus on the wrong things. And classic example, you could have focused on, I didn't run this week. No, immediately you went, I'm going to schedule that in for this coming week. You didn't beat yourself up and focus on the fact you didn't do it. You're focusing on, okay, so when can I schedule it? Because stuff does get in the way. Let's be honest, right? We've got to be disciplined enough to overcome that. And then he talks about understanding the sort of things that energize you. And if anyone has ever done any personal development, big events, I remember doing UPW with Tony Robbins, and he conditions you to walk over coals. And he talks about making your power move, and it conditions it into you. But you can think about something that really energizes you, whether that's a bit of music and you put that music on, it uplifts you, whether you just jump up and down on the spot, and getting that energy into you, because we do deplete our energy sources, but we've got unlimited amount of energy in our bodies. I mean, unless anyone's on a hunger strike for the next 30 days, you've got a lot of cells in your body that's stored energy that you can use and tap into. And if you understand how to access that, i.e. energize yourself, you'll be surprised. So getting that energy and then working out what are the things that can trip you up, the ones that take your focus away. Be aware of them and make sure you don't do that. So classic example is if you're working online, turn off all notifications, and you can go into a mode on your computer where you don't get disturbed. On your phone, switch your phone off if you're doing something on, perhaps you're writing, but be aware of the distractions that you can get. And so that was important. And this will just make you laugh, because I'm going to take the camera and I'm just going to show you. This is what I wrote out on my board, and he suggested doing 30 squares. So I thought I'd do it on a big scale, right? So I did it on a big scale on the flip chart, and then I'm going to put something in each square each day. And today's the first day, so today's my first day for my 30 day challenge, and I'm going to ask people to do a 30-day challenge. Come on, let's screw it. And what are your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back to, I never looked into it. I know you like looking back at the source and stuff like that. So, where's that information come from to check the accuracy? But I mean, I think the 30-day thing, isn't it? I'm sure that come from someone having like a leg or an arm amputated, didn't it? It's basically,
I'm not sure where that came from, but I think I just look at that 30-day and look back at things I've done. And when I set myself a challenge like that, what you're doing is you're focusing on them 30 days. So again, what we're talking about, where focus goes, energy flows. So I want to do something every single day for the next 30 days. And here's the other thing you need to be aware of, right? And we've spoken this on the Accountability Mondays in the past, is 80% of your efforts. Now, this, again, I don't know where this has come from. I've never double checked this, but I do know my own personal experience. 80% of your efforts come from, if your results come from 20% of your efforts. You know what you're good at.
Yeah.
Right. If you know what you're good at, and you've got, I call it people's superpowers. I'm great on the phone. I'm great at, talking one-to-one to people. So I want to spend more time in that zone, in talking to people. I'm going to get better results on what I do if I'm speaking to people on a one-to-one basis. So I'll set myself some objectives over the next 30 days and say, okay, I'll break it down and say, well, these are the things I want to make sure I've done in the next 30 days, because my 30 days takes me to the 27th of December, which is a bit of a pain, because you're coming into a period where people are in silly season, what I call it. They're in holiday mode. But that's not going to stop me, because I know there's other people out there who know it's important about the message I'm spreading.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think you come. Was it when you look? Where you look? I mean, so anybody that's ridden a motorcycle, isn't it? They always say, if you look somewhere, or skiing, isn't it? If you're looking somewhere, you'll go there, won't you? So, like, that's where an accident happens. So there's
a phenomenon, isn't it? There's a phenomenon that there'll be a dead straight, flat road.
Yeah, exactly.
How many people hit the lamppost on that road because they're focusing on the lamppost and not on where they want to go? And that's a really valid point you make, John. Look where you want to go. They do that in motor racing. Don't look at the barrier as you go around the corner. Look around the corner where you want to go. So you focus 100%. On that. It's also something to do with your reticular activating system, as if you're noticing the things you need to notice, because your brain is very good at spotting things and seeing things. So you need to put yourself in that mode. I'm going to be focusing on the stuff I need to get me where I want to go, as opposed to crashing into a lamppost.
Yeah, and also you notice things, isn't it? It's if you're buying a certain type of car, so you wanted to buy a, I don't know, pink blooming Ferrari or something like that, but you could have seen a few of them up and down the road in the last month or not. But as soon as you're in the market for a pink Ferrari, you're seeing them, aren't they? There's, they're in your vision, and it'd be the same with goals.
I think we might bring that down to a red Fiesta rather than a pink Ferrari, because I think there's more of them around. But yeah, I get your point. Is that all of a sudden you get a car? It might be a specific model. You didn't notice them before, and all of a sudden you're seeing them all the time.
Yeah, because your brain, you just tuned into that sort of thing, isn't it? But also, like I said to you, it's the other thing is the company you keep as well. Because when I first started drinking, it was like everywhere you go, oh, just have a drink. So it's like, if you want to, like you say, smash your goals, or sometimes you might have to retreat from the company or the circle you're in at the moment. And also you see that in property when we used to run our property meet. A lot of people would come and say, this is what I'm doing, and they go away, and the following month they come back, but they've had a chat with family and friends and stuff like that, and they've just come back half baked, whereas they had a lot of passion and energy before. And and obviously the relevant question is, is the person that's giving their input into your subconscious or whatever, have they actually done it themselves? Because if they haven't, it's not relevant information, is it really? If you're thinking of writing a book, and you're Bob down the pub is saying, oh no, you don't need to write a book, no one reads books anymore, it's all online. It's like, well, have you written a book? Well, if he hasn't, then his information's just noise, isn't it?
It's funny. I do remember as a kid, people giving me advice, the parental guidance, so to speak. And they'd be telling me this, telling me that, and I'm going, well, and I'm looking at them thinking, well, they haven't done it right. And it's my stepson came to me years ago. He was about 14, 15, and he wanted to be a BA pilot. That was his ultimate destination for him, was be a BA pilot. Have the uniform. And I think he'd seen that film with I can't remember his name now.
Catch Me If You Can.
That's the one. I think he'd seen that and he got excited. Yeah. But anyway, so he went to see his careers teacher at school and said, I want to become a pilot, a BA pilot. She laughed and she went, he said, well, you're the careers teacher. She went, okay, look, this is what you need to do. And they've got a sort of set plan of what you should be doing. And I don't think you're going to get there. That's what she said. I don't think you're going to get there. Maybe you need to lower your sights. So he came home dejected. I said to him, what's up, Jay? He's gone, well, they've told me I'm not going to become a BA pilot. So I said, well, really, if you want to be a careers teacher, ask your careers teacher, because she knows how to be a careers teacher. If you want to be a BA pilot, go and ask a BA pilot. I said, do you know it? He's gone, oh, no, not really. I said, well, our neighbour, he said, yeah, Scully, he's a BA pilot. He went, oh, that's right. He said, I forgot about that. Go and see Scully. He'll tell you. So he knocked on Scully's door. Scully sat him down and said, yeah, I didn't go down the traditional route. And most of the blokes I know didn't. And he said, if you want to get your pilot license and do this, and he gave him a roadmap which was completely different to what the careers teacher told him. But he'd asked someone who'd actually got through and become a BA pilot. And I think that's a really important point you make there, John, because the weekend I saw a post on LinkedIn about someone banging on about parental skills, and people have got these groups online and all this business, and he was saying, well, people are taking note of it. Well, actually, if someone's got, because years ago you used to go to your own parents for parental advice for your kids, and there weren't no books or anything like that, but now there's little groups, and these guys going out, you can't get any great information from groups on Facebook. Well, actually, if you've got someone who's actually particularly good at parenting, they've got really sensible kids, and shouldn't you take some notice of them? So I think that's a really important point you make.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think there's always exceptions to the rule, but I think you've got to be wary of who's saying, and also people, and there's obviously there's layers of things, isn't there? Because there's obviously the bucket of crabs type of mentality as well. I remember, advising someone a while ago, and he wanted to pursue a certain career, but the family were whispering in his ear, "You can't make it. You can't do that. You can't do that." They were just trying to keep him in that circle that was comfortable to them. But and I suppose you've got to put yourself in their position. Is they felt that he was taking an unnecessary risk, but a lot of the time it comes from people that don't want to see you succeed sometimes, doesn't it? And you've got to sort of try and look at it from all different angles.
I'm not sure if they want you to succeed, because if I go back to my own experience, I do remember when I was a baker. When I was between the ages of 16, leaving school, and to when I left at just before 23 years of age, I had aspirations to a better life, and I remember wanting to buy a flat, and they were telling me that this because none of the my parents didn't buy a house; they were renting the old school rentals as well. Not the stuff that's on AST. They're talking about something where it was a sitting tenant, and so they didn't see the value of buying a house. I just thought it was a mortgage around your neck for 25 years, and said, you sure you want to do it, and the financial risks. And I wanted to change my job as well, and they were trying to protect me in some respect. You could look at it, they were a bit jealous. I don't think that was the case. I think they had good intentions, but here's the kicker, right? I took fucking no notice of any of them, and I'm so glad I did. Because if I'd have taken notice of them, I wouldn't have bought that first flat, and I wouldn't have changed my job, and I was probably be still either baking bread or in some sort of manual job. And I didn't let it sink in. I wouldn't. It's like I was bulletproof. And it's funny. I was doing some work on a program I've got coming up called The Inside Edge, and I talk about in this program about being bulletproof and not allowing them things to permeate into our brains, and saying no, that's not what I want to do, because sometimes we've got no choice about the people that are around us. You can't just turn around and say, I can't be bothered with that person anymore. I want to get rid of them out of my life because they're negative. Sometimes other people are negative regardless, and we have to manage that. And this is what was my superpower, was my brain and my aspirations were so strong in me. In fact, it made me more determined to prove them wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. But you can also reframe that, can't you, and say, if I go ahead with my chosen action and I don't get the desired outcome of what I want, am I in a worse position, or am I in the same position as I am now? And if you're in the same position you are now, you've lost absolutely nothing.
I'm glad you bring that up, because this was my reframing of leaving the baking trade at the same time as buying a flat. So I bought the flat, and in fact, I sold the flat and bought a house. So I'd just taken on a 62 grand mortgage for a house, and I looked at it this way. It was purely just what you just said there, a complete reframe, which was the worst possible scenario is I go back to the baking trade, because I'll always have a job there, because there was a shortage of bakers. Any sort of manual job, crappy job, there's a shortage of them. I was experienced in the baking trade as well by that stage. I could always go back, and the worst scenario, I'd be in a little bit of debt for a few months. And so I might not be in the same position. I might be in a little slightly worse position, but that was the price worth paying.
100%.
So
it's definitely worth pushing forward on that.
Terrific. So think about what you focus on. Think about why you're doing it, and put some things in place to stop yourself from being distracted. And a classic example of the way I am, I wrote all that stuff on my flip chart when I didn't need to, but I just did it there and then. I thought, oh, that's a great idea. Let's get cracking with it. So sometimes starting something can be really important. So it's nearly 9 o'clock now. So any other tips for people out there, John? You got an idea of?
No, I think it's exactly like you think. It's like, I mean, I suppose the obvious one is having someone to hold yourself to account. So at least it's just make, like you've just done, haven't you? You've said I'm going to fill those 30 squares up with something. I'm publicly going about doing it, and I think that makes a massive. I mean, I don't know again where it's come from, but people saying I've shared my dream or my goal or whatever with someone, and that's helped me massively. So. Yeah, definitely. I think you've just got to have it written down somewhere where you're going to see it all the time, and you just got to take a moment out of your day. Whether it's at the start of the day or the end of the day. Have my actions in the last 24 hours got me closer to my goal or further away, and reevaluate it every single day. And the more you look at it, it's like laser focused, isn't it?
Yeah, and also give yourself a bit of credit sometimes. People beat themselves up for not doing certain things, but I had a vision a year ago about what it was going to look like with Zoe's legacy, and I'm looking back thinking, actually, I've done quite a lot of work between then and now, and the circumstances were pretty horrendous. So to come from that space to where I am today, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that. Because there were times it was hard, because adversity can knock us off balance sometimes. Well, listen, John, I'll see you next week, and I'll do a big shout out to Patrick, because I had to chat with Patrick some 3 weeks ago, and I said to him, look, he said he was in a bit of a lull, and he's turned up every week for the last 3 weeks. So. Good on you, Patrick, and I love you, mate, and you inspire me. He said I inspire him, mate. You inspire me without a shadow of a doubt. So this is Paul Ribbons and John Cox signing off until next week. Good luck and be lucky.
Have a good week. Catch you later.
Shut up. Right, I'll stop that now. That's that. $43.